there's a gentleman who owned an exhibit house, um, in a secondary market. He was in Ohio. The company was called Queen Exhibits. Walt Queen was the founder and owner. He and his wife Cheryl owned it and ran it. I want to say 20 or 24 employees. Walt passed away very suddenly a few months ago.
Mm.
It's just devastating to the obviously to his family and his wife, the people that work there. But what's come out of it for a lot of people, because we spoke and honored him at the EDPA's recent meeting. I just read something in Exhibit City News about him. But what came out, and this is the eulogy, right? It's what an amazing man he was. It was the stories that were told was, Walt figured when he owned his own business, he'd finally get a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, right?
Mm.
Well, once he became an owner, he didn't just want one; he wanted one for every employee, right? He
Mm.
was that guy. Um, his last night on this earth, unbeknownst to him, was spent with his grandson painting the warehouse floors at his warehouse. He, it was like many entrepreneurs, it's a labor of love, right? But to do it with with a a child or a grandchild, that's its own joy there. He was all in for that. His employees knew he was all in for them, and
Mm.
so I can sit here and think about the advocacy work I've done, and I can sit here and think about roles I've played at different companies in the industry that I think made an impact on people. This is what I'm talking about when ultimately, other people are remembering you and honoring you. It's the kind of person that you are. I'm sure if you're the top sales producer, that should get a mention in your eulogy. If you've traveled more miles than anybody to trade shows, that deserves to a mention. If you were a great manager or a great operations or you were a top designer, all those things matter. But I think um, to your point about main characters, we were talking about that earlier, can be flawed. Yeah, but they're just undeniably unique and authentic, and that's the stuff I think that. So I'm torn. I understand this is a professional request by an association for 2 or 3 sentences, but you have to pick the right ones. But I hope somewhere in there there's an opportunity to describe um, the values and the principles that um, I espoused without making it sound like a braggadocio blurb. But and I
Yeah.
don't know,
Well,
maybe that's for other
I
people to
think
talk about, Khalil. But
it is, and I think if you really want to be a main character or you want to have like a really good
yeah,
story, you don't make yourself the main character.
right.
Like it's really about others. It's not about you. And I think that's the thing that some people miss out on is they're so worried about their own trajectory, their own story, what they've accomplished, what they've achieved, how they are perceived by others, what their status is, all that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there over
And
the sound of how fabulous I am. Is that the guy you're talking about? Like, don't be that guy.
exactly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah, it's not about that. And you're not going to be remembered for what you did for yourself, but you'll be remembered by others for what you did for them. And that's what I mean, we all want to do things that matter. And in order for things to matter, there has to be buy-in from other people and they have to matter to other people, not just to us.
So
So,
these are the things I was
um,
thinking about as I go. Um, if your goal is to be remembered for more than just the work, ask yourself, were you a great colleague to work with? If so,
hmm,
why was that? Were you a difference maker in some way at your company, to your customers and the community you work within? And how was that? Um, did you redefine excellence in some way at your job? So my birthday was last week, right? And so I got a guy, Mr. Jim Weiss. We worked together for God, decades ago with Skyline, and he went on to be a very successful sales management executive for one of the largest auto dealerships in Wisconsin chains. Um, I get a call from Jim Weiss on my birthday every single year since we worked at Skyline. I hear from Jim more than I hear from some family members. He
Hmm.
and if he doesn't get me, he leaves me a voicemail. He always asks about my kids and my wife. It's a genuine, he does this for everyone he knows. It's amazing. So that's something he's going to be remembered for. Donna Miller is my controller. She's been with us for 14 years. She is the baker. She goes from office to office, and she's doing the accounting and finance work. But she always it's a crock pot, a jambalaya, a seafood. It's homemade cheesecake. She knows birthdays. She just den mothers. I mean, every guy that works in my warehouse goes, I always feel better when I see Donna in the building, right? So, um, the owner of Skyline, one of the original founder, I remember when Gordon took every single employee in the company. I think back then it was 80 people to Hawaii. The first year they were named to the Inc. 500. This was back in the late 80s. What he didn't talk about is how many college tuitions he paid for people. He helped
Hmm.
them with cars, with housing, with medical bills, and in some cases, quietly for people he really felt were contributing. And I was one of them. He gifted us company stock options, and he wanted to make sure that you got a chance to share in the upside because you were part of making that happen. Anyway, this is way more than just a job, right? So I guess we're talking about, do you desire to be somebody that transcends just sort of that employee coworker identity? And is there an opportunity for you to shine and let people know who you really are inside? Right. And I think there are. And that's one of the great things about the EDPA organization is you do get a chance to show up and contribute in ways. In some ways, it's very quirky and individual, and some people do it at the chapter level, and some elevate to the national level.